Jeremy Weiss here. We're live at RetailX. We're here with Barry. And Barry, tell people about your company and what you do.
My company is PopupShops.io, and we are a great service to the internet community. Basically what we are is a website, a match.com, if you will, that matches brands that want to pop up with spaces specifically available to pop up. So basically they can find each other, and as you may know, pop-ups are a real hot commodity right now. Retail is changing and evolving, and pop-up shops is part of that new retail.
How did you get into that?
Well, I'm a retailer. I founded a chain of stores, built them up and sold them 7 years ago.
What kind of stores?
The sporting goods stores. They're called Sun and Ski Sports. And retirement is not in my vocabulary, and I'm an entrepreneur. And we used to do temporary stores at Sun and Ski, and I remember how difficult it was to find locations. And so now that pop-ups are so popular, I said there's a need for a website where I can do all the perusing at home at midnight in my pajamas and find great locations. And so we did a little research to find out that pop-up shops are very popular, and there really wasn't a format similar to what we have.
So talk about some interesting client stories, people using.
One interesting client story is a woman who is a retailer, and what she does is she goes into a mall, i.e. Galleria in Houston, and she rents out on a temporary basis a complete store, okay? Then she in turn subleases the store to 15 pop-ups, and she curates the whole thing for them. She even goes so far as to have the credit card, all the point of sale stuff, all the fixtures, and so she makes it really easy for that digitally native brand to put their toe in the water of retail, so to speak. And it's called a collective, and I think that was very interesting, something that I hadn't thought about when I formed my company.
So what were some of the challenges you mentioned? You started out of the need and challenges you were having.
Yes.
What were you experiencing as a retailer?
What I was experiencing was I knew I wanted a location. I wanted in those days it was called a temporary store. Today it's called pop-up shop. But so I would go out driving around the city trying to find a location. And you know how that is. I mean, you drive around, you do find a center that you think you like. There's always a sign that's for lease called John Jones. You try to call people, they never call you back, nobody ever follows up. It takes a number of contacts before you even talk to them. And then if you may know, one of the mantras of a salesman is you never give your pitch on the phone. What you do is you sell the meeting. Okay, so I would call them up, finally get a hold of them, and I'd sell the meeting. And so we'd meet, and I'd give him my pitch on how Sun and Ski, and we want to do temporary stores. And he would say, oh, stop right there. Temporary stores? We don't do temporary stores. If you want to sign a 5 or a 10-year lease, I'll talk to you. So I wasted all that time. And so when actually I was sitting home in Houston, Texas when we sponsored the Super Bowl, and there was a big number of pop-up shops that went up downtown Houston to take advantage of the millions of people that come in for the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I was reading about that and did some other research to find out again that pop-up shops are the new retail. And I said, wow, what can I do to help? How can I get involved? And I said to myself, if there would have been a website that I could have gone to as opposed to driving around and wasted all that time, I think there's a need for that. And I did some marketing research, went to some landlords that I knew because I was in the retail business, and told them my idea, and that's how PopupShops.io was born. A number of them said, Barry, genius, it's a great idea, there's a need for that. And so that's how it evolved.
What's some of the feedback you've gotten from people using it that you've implemented into the site?
They love it. That's the first place they go when they're looking to pop up. And again, what's interesting is that a pop-up shop, the definition of a pop-up, it's a very wide definition. It's like anywhere from a 3-hour event all the way up to 1 year. And so
1 year is still considered a pop-up.
Yeah, anything 1 year or less is temporary. When you get over a year, it's not temporary anymore. And so therefore all these people, it's such a wide variety that people would check on us if they want to do an event. Now we didn't do this, but Oscar De La Renta, for example, wanted to launch his new spring line. So he went to Fifth Avenue, found a place that was vacant, called the landlord, said, I'd like to do a Friday night unveil. Well, what's the landlord? Of course, it's vacant. Any money's better than none. So he did a 3-hour launch of his spring line. Music, food, entertainment. And the beauty of it was he could test his new line. And consumers were there and they can say, well, I don't like that color or this doesn't fit right. And so he can modify the line before he goes into production.
What's some of the interesting use cases you've seen of people using pop-up stores?
God, there's all kinds. There's coffee shops that pop up. They're using containers. These shipping containers. There's container parks where people take these containers, rehab them, carve them out, put air conditioning in, floors in, and do a pop-up in them. And so there's all kinds of food, there's all kinds of apparel, accessories. There's an artist. I have one of our listeners is a renowned artist, and so she did a pop-up gallery for on a temporary basis. So it's only limited by imagination.
Right. And what about some events creating those pop-ups? You mentioned the Super Bowl. I picture like Halloween. There's probably a lot of pop-ups. What other events?
Well, probably the epitome of the pop-up is the Halloween store, where you have a seasonal business. For example, the reason when I was at Sun and Ski Sports, my company before I sold it, we were a seasonal business. Believe it or not, most of our business was winter sports. Summer sports, the sun part of Sun and Ski wasn't quite as good. And so we're seasonal. And I said to myself, why don't I want to lock in the season of winter sports. I don't want to sit there in the summer and lose money. And so let me do a temporary store.
Right.
And so it solves that problem, that seasonality, i.e. it's the same thing with the Halloween store too.
Tell people, where can they find you online?
PopupShops.io.
PopupShops.io. Check it out.
PopupShops.io.
Live from RetailX.